Now, whenever you're taking pictures at a park like this, you always got to shoot an empty bench. It signifies you're waiting for someone. Who? I don't know, but someone. Someone will sit there soon. Hey everybody, what's going on? We are back with our Sigma FP full review. Now, it's been a couple months since we did our first impressions. We'll put a link in the description below. But we thought it'd be a great place to test this camera out a little bit more here at Botanical Gardens in Singapore. It's a UNESCO heritage site. It's beautiful, a lot of greenery, a lot of great trees and flowers and plants, all that stuff here. It is hot, so we will be shooting a lot in the shade as we're doing right now. But nonetheless, actually, Kai Hong, you're shooting me on the Sigma FP with the 35 1.2. We're gonna talk about the video. We're gonna talk about what it's like to shoot stills. So let's get down to it. Now, I do want to let you know before we get into the full review that we are not paid or sponsored by anyone for this, not even that rooster. We paid extra for that guy, by the way. But no, these are our thoughts and our thoughts only, so let's talk about the Sigma FP. Now, a couple months ago when I did my first impressions, I said it's a quirky camera, it's got a lot of character, and I still stand by that today. This is a very fun camera to shoot with, especially if you're into photography. Yes, I agree. And the thing about it is the build quality feels so good in the hand. Even with the accessories. Now, since I previously had it, I've gotten the large grip on it, which gives it a lot better feel, especially when you have larger hands. Then I've also got a few more lenses. So I've got the 14-24 f2.8, I've got the 35 1.2, which we shot the opening with, as well as the 45 f2.8. Now, this is L-mount Alliance, so you can also adapt lenses, which I have an L-mount lens. I have a Voigtlander 51.2, which I'll be showing off in just a minute, to kind of show you the versatility of this camera. Now, some things have stuck out to me over the past couple months of shooting with this in terms of photography. One thing is the color. The color is beautiful. Honestly, this is one of the best cameras for color you're gonna enjoy out of full frame sensor. It really is that good. Low light, it's a beast as well. I'm really impressed with the low light performance of this. Now, in terms of autofocusing, as I mentioned before, it's not the greatest, and I still stand by that. I was hoping there would be a firmware update from Sigma. There wasn't. I'm still waiting, Sigma, but I know it's in you. I know there's something coming that's gonna address this autofocusing, at least I'm hoping for. In terms of photography, it's not bad. We'll talk about the video in just a bit. But photography, you're gonna have to, adjust your focus points, continuous autofocus, single autofocus. You're gonna have to go back and forth to find what works for you. That means it's gonna slow down your photography. This is more of a lifestyle camera. Even though it can do 18 frames per second, I would not rely on this to shoot any types of sports. Honestly speaking, don't do that to yourself. It's great. I would use that faster frame rate if you wanna make sure you got the shot. And I do this a lot, even when I'm just shooting stills. I will shoot like medium or low frame rate, so I get 1 or 2 burst shots out there. So I know I at least got one in focus, because there is no image stabilization in this camera. You have electronic stabilization, but it's not always turned on. So you are gonna have to rely on a higher shutter speed, and that's where I would shoot 1 or 2 frames extra just to be sure that you got that shot. Besides that though, it's a fun camera to use, but when we get into the accessories, this is where the Sigma FP has a lot of potential, and it's also a little bit frustrating as well. Case in point, with the large grip, I've got this viewfinder on the back of it, which magnifies the rear display up to 2 times, and it gives you a nice, crisp, clear image. The unfortunate thing is, once I've got this setup bolted on, I can't take this off when I want to. You've got to really unscrew this thing, take it off, put another piece on. It's a very Lego kind of setup here, but instead of bricks, it's screws. Which means is that when you start out your day, you need to know how you want to shoot. So if you're gonna stay with the viewfinder, stay with the viewfinder. If you aren't too sure, I would recommend taking off the viewfinder before you start the day, because you are very limited in how you can shoot. You wanna shoot low, you're gonna get on the ground. If you wanna shoot at different angles, you can't. You're gonna have to use your body to go up and down. It is sort of like how you would shoot back in the old days, but you'd figure that Sigma would come out with a solution, possibly a foldable viewfinder, with a hinge here where you just lift up, use the screen, fold down. That's an idea, Sigma. I'm gonna give that to you for free. But if you wanna give me credit, Bobby Tonelli's viewfinder, I'll take it. Anyway, besides that though, you've got the hot shoe right here, and I would love to see an electronic EVF on this. That would make it would make this camera fantastic. But overall, the accessories are really well built. just like the body is. Everything feels really, really solid in the hand. You got to give Sigma credit for this. It feels like it's a lot more expensive than what it is. And in a way, it's kind of like a Japanese Leica. You know what I mean? It's got that build quality because they do have their own magnesium alloy factory, from what I understand, and they make all their own magnesium alloys. So on these cameras, the quality control is there. The switches feel good, the buttons feel good. I like it a lot. There goes my exposure dial again. God, this exposure wheel. The hell's wrong with this thing? Fix this wheel again. But let's talk about video. Now video, this is a hybrid camera. And the thing about, how do I put this? It's a hybrid camera, it's a cinematographer's camera, but if you're a novice, you're gonna find this a bit frustrating and very limiting for your level of knowledge. Once you're more experienced, you're into manual focusing, you're into manual settings, you're into all these things, then you can work with the Sigma FP a little bit more because you can really rig this thing out to be a full-fledged cinema camera. But if you wanna rely on autofocusing, don't. It's not as bad as the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K and 6K. It's better, but it's not reliable. If you want to do vlogging with this, you ain't gonna do it. Unless you put it on a tripod, you have a monitor, an external monitor there, and you don't move. And even then, it's not 100%. So you're gonna need someone with the expertise like Kai Hong that's in front of me right now, manually focusing this camera, because you're gonna get frustrated that it does kind of waver a little bit. Hopefully Sigma comes out with a firmware update to improve this autofocusing because there's a lot of potential in that. But if you want to shoot video, learn how to manual focus. Now, one great thing about this camera is you can do 12-bit RAW, which is phenomenal for a camera this size and for this price point. But you got to hook up an external SSD drive and it records everything to that drive. So it's not doing any processing in the camera, it's all going to the drive, and then from there, you can edit it how you want to. Again, that's more for the advanced cinematographer out there. For the novices that just want to record it to the card, you can do that, but you'll be doing it at a lower quality. It's still very good quality. I mean, we're doing it on this camera and you're seeing it here on the review. But if you want the best of the best with this camera, you're gonna have to use an external SSD, which we don't have with us for this review. Also talking about video, there are some things that I've had issues with. Now, it could be my unit, so I do want to put that out there. But I have noticed, or Kai Hong's noticed this as well, is that all of a sudden the screen would go black. You couldn't push any buttons. You'd see all the menu options on the screen, but you couldn't do anything. So you'd have to remove the battery, wait a second, put the battery back in, and then it would kind of reset itself. So again, I have the latest firmware update as of, I think it's 1.01, as of the time we're filming this video, and I'm getting some of this. Now, like I said, it could be my unit, but that is a bit of an issue. And I have also noticed it with photography as well. Also in terms of ISO, to find the ISO settings and dials and buttons, it's a little bit convoluted. I think Sigma's got their menu system. It's very simple in some ways, but at the same time, you need the instruction manual with you if you're not really fluid with that menu system and understanding where all the submenus are in terms of settings and everything else. It can be a bit frustrating.
Have a nice day.
You too, you too. Ooh, $350. You pay for this UNESCO site. Man. Wow, $350 for this. Whew. Man. It's expensive to keep this garden green. Now, talking about the 24-70 f 2.8, it's a new lens on the market, everybody's talking about it, and there's been a lot of reviews for the Sony E-mount cameras out there. Now, I have it for the L-mount because we're part of the L-mount Alliance, and I like it. I think it's a great alternative for those who don't want to spend for the 2490 from Leica, which is 4 or 5 times the amount, or the Panasonic, which is double the price. So it is a great alternative for you out there. Now, in terms of its clarity, in terms of the image quality of the lens, overall, I think that it's right up there with the Sony 24-70 f 2.8. And I think for the L mount, it's a great alternative if you want to spend more on your primes and you don't want to spend so much on zooms, but you need a zoom in your bag for those special occasions. This is going to be a great alternative for you. If you're a wedding photographer, if you're a working photographer and you want to get into these systems, save on the lenses you can save on and spend on the lenses that are really going to make your work pop. For me personally, I love prime, so I would rather spend more on prime than I would on a zoom. So the 2470 for me from Sigma is the way to go at about 1,500 Singapore dollars. Of course, now we have the 14-24 f2.8 lens, which I have on here right now. I've talked about this lens previously with the Panasonic S1R. I love this lens. It's my favorite ultra wide lens of last year. Great build quality. It's sharp. I mean, you can't go wrong with this lens, and especially the size of it, it really feels good. And of course, the 35-1.2, my second favorite 35 lens of all the lenses out there. Besides the 35 Summicron f2 L mount for the Leica SL2 or SL, that lens is phenomenal. The 35-1.2 is right after that. Great bokeh, great separation, focus is fast enough for me. It's a big lens, but the image quality is so nice. Anyway, so overall, those are my thoughts on the Sigma FP in terms of video, in terms of photography. A couple things about the Sigma FP that I wish were improved. Now, one of them has to do with the accessory. And this is something that can be improved with another version of this. The grip. I like this large grip, but as you can tell, the battery door, this whole battery area is recessed. So that's fine. There's a switch to open up the battery door. But to get the SD card out, if you have larger hands, you need tweezers. It's not easy to pull the SD card out, unless you have a very, very long cat-like nail. Then you can kind of grab it and pull it out like that. But Sigma can fix that. One of the things, and I've talked about this many times in this video, and I've talked about it before, is this rear wheel. This is the one thing that really frustrates me about the usability of this camera, because this wheel, you touch it once, slightly, you just graze it with your finger and your settings are all off. I mean, you can set it to various different things out there, but you can't turn off this wheel. Well, you can lock both wheels or no wheels. You can't choose to, let's say, lock this wheel and keep this wheel on. You can't do that as of yet. Maybe that'll come out with a firmware update. But Sigma, if I could send this camera back to you and you can make this wheel as tight and tensioned as this top wheel, I would honestly do it, and I would pay you to do it, because it is so frustrating to use. And I feel like this camera just exudes quality. Everything feels really good in the hand, but this wheel is really, really not good. That's my one big complaint of the FP, is that portion of it. I'm almost relegated to just putting a piece of Scotch tape over it, which it kind of sucks that you have to do that, but maybe with the FP Mark II, they'll fix it, or maybe there will be a fix where we can send the camera back and they'll replace it. I don't know. Anyway, that's my biggest issue with the camera overall. Image stabilization, I mean, look, I understand because of the size, it's not gonna have it there, the electronic stabilization, and you're relying basically on lenses that have a stabilization inside of them. Overall though, yeah, those are my issues with the Sigma FP. Now you see, when you have a big tree like this, you pull out the 14-24. One of my favorite ultra wide lenses. This is a fantastic lens. Now, but first, I'm gonna throw away plastic, because I don't litter. Not a UNESCO site, at least. No, I don't litter at all. Man. No, the good thing about Singapore is we've always got trash bins everywhere. If you don't throw something away, you're an idiot here in Singapore. Because the one good thing we have, there's a lot of good things about Singapore. One good thing is we got trash bins like every so many meters. I like that. Alrighty, let's do some magic here. Let me find the lens cap. Oh, it's on my pocket. When in doubt, always check your pocket. Probably your lens cap's there. I know usually we edit this stuff out and we're like, try to make photography look so seamless and sleek, but sometimes you just gotta go raw. You gotta show you guys what it's like to be on the go and change these lenses out. I'm sure I'm gonna get a few comments on YouTube like, why are you doing it like that? But no lenses have been harmed in this transfer. All right, so overall thoughts on the Sigma FP as a cinema camera. It's got a lot of quirks. I think this is a couple firmware updates away from being a very full-fledged camera with the potential that it has to come alive. And what I mean by that is that, you know, we've had some issues with it freezing, we've had to take the battery in and out, finding ISOs and finding settings is a little bit cumbersome. Obviously, when you want to do, record in RAW, watch that playback, you can't right now as of yet. That's going to come up with a firmware update in the future, but you can only record into an SSD, which is good for those who are into cinematography, but as a novice cinematographer or videographer, you might find this a little frustrating. Also, the fact that it doesn't have image stabilization, I understand because of the size of the camera that it's very difficult to do that, but it would be nice to have that because this camera is so light that you will have more camera shake than normal with a larger size camera. As a still camera, it takes some beautiful photos. Autofocusing could be slightly better. Hopefully that is improved, but it is contrast based, so we do have to accept that it will never be as good as the phase detect systems that are in like Sony's and other cameras out there. But the colors that come out of this sensor are beautiful. The image quality is beautiful. And that's why in a kind of a way I do call it a Japanese Leica, because it gives you that very unique character to your images and to the way of just shooting it, that you enjoy the process a little bit more as a photographer. And that's why I kind of like this camera. Even with all the faults that it has as a version A, I still really enjoy shooting with this. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Sigma FP. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like always, subscribe to us, follow us on Facebook. Until the next one, take care.